You need someone like this to help you, to assist you, to know what you can and can't do when it comes to your taxes.
Originating from deep inside the Rocky Mountains, transported through the power of the internet, and arriving inside your tiny earbuds. It's the Appraiser Coach Podcast, helping appraisers increase their efficiency, quality, and make more money. Here's the guy who makes it his life's mission to create value for real estate appraisers nationwide. Your host and the Appraiser Coach, Dustin Harris.
Welcome one, welcome all. Dustin Harris hanging out in the podcast chair. We are sponsored by three great companies. You know them well. Alamode, of course, been using it for almost 3 decades. Did you know they've been in business for almost 4 decades, folks? They've been helping appraisers to be more efficient, more effective at what they do. Check them out by going to alamode.com or 800-ALAMODE. Synapse. Folks, I'm telling you, I get people coming to me all the time. What's the best product for helping me to support my adjustments? I mean, it just rolls off the tongue because it's a no-brainer. There's a lot of great products out there. Synapse is the best. Check them out by going to Spark for Appraisers. That's F-O-R, spark4appraisers.com, and click on the Synapse button. And, of course, we are sponsored by a great company, great E&O company. I know you don't think about who's the best E&O company. Folks, I'm telling you, you will think about it when you need it, and that is OREP, OREP.org. That's OREP.org. All right, folks, I know it's not, we're not even to the end of the year. We're not even close to the end of the year. We've got another quarter in front of us as of this recording. And I'll tell you, it's been a weird year for a lot of people. Many of us experienced an increase in business the first part of this year. Then the interest rates started to climb, and many of us had at least a slight dip. Some of you have had a much bigger dip than that. Maybe you might call it more than a dip, but it's been a weird year. And planning ahead has been difficult for many of us, and that is just a fact. Now, folks, I got in the habit many years ago of doing something that I want to share with you today, and I want to share with you the why behind it as well. But I think this is something you're going to want to listen to today. I don't care what business you're in, but I'm specifically talking about appraisal, of course, and small business owners, service-oriented businesses. Now, again, I think that this episode is really for anyone who is in business. I don't care if it's a large, medium, or small company. I don't care if you're a sole proprietor or if you have employees. I think that the advice that I'm going to give you today should be internalized by anyone out there. But of course, this podcast is for appraisers. This podcast is for my listeners. Most of you are appraisers, so let's get started. Let's talk a little bit about tax planning. I know, Dustin, I do tax planning like on April 14th. Right? Folks, by April 14th, a lot of this stuff is going to be too late. Too little, too late. Years ago, I learned a very important lesson. In fact, it was really my second big lesson in delegation. I've talked about it before, so I won't go into detail, just enough to allude to it and share with you. The first time I really realized the power of delegation was when we hired a house cleaner to come in once a week and help us out with a task that typically took our family about 3 to 4 hours on a Saturday morning. And it would take a house cleaning crew about an hour to do the same thing. I learned very quickly that whatever I paid that house cleaner for the hour that they were in our home, I could easily make up in revenue by doing an appraisal, doing an extra appraisal a week, right? In fact, I made more money doing an extra appraisal than doing something that I hated doing, which was cleaning the house. Right? It gave me more time with my family because I concentrated on what I love to do and what I'm good at, appraising, and didn't concentrate on stuff that I hated to do and drug my feet at doing. Still needed to get done, right? So the law of delegation works. And I quickly turned that over to my accountant as well. The same principle I applied to taxes. Up until that point, I had done my own, I say I'd done my own taxes, but I did it with the help of TurboTax for years. And every year I would pay the $79 or whatever it was back then. I have no idea what it is now because I haven't used it forever. But I paid, it was under $100. I knew that. And I always thought, wow, it's under $100. I can do my taxes for under $100. Well, could I really? I mean, think of the time and the effort every single year. And by the way, not just the time and effort, but oh my gosh, the emotional drain of thinking I've got to spend a whole Saturday or a whole Monday or a whole weekend or whatever it is. I've got to set that time aside to go through my receipts and go through this and go through that. I'm telling you, it was not something I looked forward to any year, but yet I thought I was saving money. Right? I'm saving money because I'm using TurboTax instead of spending, oh my gosh, $300 to have an accountant do it. That's how much it was back then. I remember that because the first time I actually employed an accountant, it was $300 it cost me to do my business taxes, and he saved me exactly $300. And again, the story, I've told it before, so I'll just allude to it. That year, I got a free version of TurboTax. I got a free version because they wanted me to come back. They realized that for years I had been buying their product, and that year I had not. So they sent me a free version and said, we want you back. Here's your free version for this year. Hope you'll come back to us next year. So I used it. I'm like, yeah, why not? I went through it, and just as a test, I came up with a number. I don't remember what it was, the taxes that I owed for that year. My accountant came up with a number that was $300 less because he knows things that TurboTax doesn't and Dustin Harris doesn't. And the idea was, holy cow, I just saved the exact amount of money that I would have paid, or that I did pay the accountant. It was free to get my taxes done. Ever since then, I have made it a rule, and this is what I want to share with you, to work with a professional. Now, in order to set this up, I want to share with you an analogy, right, that I think you will understand. The analogy is this. You are a homeowner. You're not an appraiser. You know nothing about appraisal. You might know a realtor. Maybe you even know of an appraiser, right? But you want to know what the value of your home is. Let's say that you've got an estate situation where you need to sell a house, okay? You have a couple of choices at this point, right? You can go out to your realtor friend and say, what do you think it's worth? You can jump online to one of these online services. I won't mention the evil one out there. And you can get your Zestimate that way. Or you can call an appraiser. Now, knowing what you know as an appraiser, what would you recommend? And I'm not talking about giving you money. I'm talking about someone calls you from Florida, right? And you're not in Florida, and they ask you what you should do. What are you going to recommend? What are you going to suggest? Of course, you're going to suggest that they get a professional, because the professional is going to give them, quote unquote, the right answer. That is key here. Absolutely key here. Okay? You are going to give them that advice because you know better. Now, the advice that you are going to give someone else, I would give you as well when it comes to your taxes. Now, I'm not a fan of taxes. I am a fan of being a good citizen. I understand that takes money to run the world. I'm not going to get into a political debate here, okay? But taxes are a necessary evil in my head. I'll give you that much, right? And I've always paid my taxes, and I've always been honest on my taxes, and I've always done my fair share, if you will. But if I can take advantage of laws, dare I call them loopholes, I'm absolutely going to be aggressive with my taxes, okay? By the way, somebody said something like that online the other day on a community Facebook page. Said, I'm going to be aggressive and take advantage of laws that are already out there. And somebody else commented and said, oh my gosh, I would never put that out online. Your dedicated IRS agent might see that and call you. I thought, wow, I have a dedicated IRS agent out there watching my social media. That's awesome. Well, I have a few things to say to you, Mr. IRS or Mrs. IRS agent. Anyway, I digress. The idea that there are rules, laws, advantages that I might take advantage of that I would not know of otherwise, to me is enough to go to a professional. The amount of time that I might spend doing my taxes is going to be rewarded if I take that to somebody who knows better, right? My accountant, my CPA, has been a friend of mine, if you will. And I don't mean a friend like we're buddies and go hang out on the weekend. I mean a friend in business of mine for many years. I trust this individual. By the way, I've had two really good ones over the years. I had one that actually was a friend, or at least an acquaintance. He was in a mastermind with me for many years. And then he moved away, and I found somebody else. And the somebody else that I found was even better. And he's amazing. And we talk frequently, like at least every couple of weeks on the phone or text or what have you, whenever something comes up. Folks, you need somebody like this in your corner. Let me stress this. You need someone like this to help you, to assist you, to know what you can and can't do when it comes to your taxes. I think this is a great time to pause and remind you of some other great efficiencies that I use in my office. One of them, of course, being a la mode. A la mode is the software of choice for us. Why? Because it's, well, I don't know, the best. I mean, I do know it is the best. A la mode will help you to be more efficient, more effective at what you do because of their built-in tools, both in the field and back at the office. The ability to train with your teams inside the software, the ability to be able to write in the addendum while you're still in the grid, the smart adjust, the side-by-side view. I mean, I could go on and on. The comps database, the photo database. I mean, folks, this is absolutely an amazing software. If you've not checked it out recently, I implore you to do so. Go to alamode.com or 800 Alamode, another great software, saving appraisers, well, their rear end, really. Synapse. Synapse is another great sponsor here on the Appraiser Coach Podcast. Folks, how would you like to stand before your state board or, I don't know, a lawsuit or you name it and have to defend your adjustments? Think about it. Think about the last appraisal that you just did, okay? That's the one. That's the one they're going to choose. That's the one they're going to scrutinize. That's the one they're going to ask about. That's the one they're going to say, why did you use $65 a square foot? Be honest. Can you answer that with confidence? Most of you cannot unless you are using Synapse. Folks, Synapse will give you the data that you need to make the right decisions when it comes to your adjustments and other things. What is the market doing? Synapse will tell you. Check them out by going to spark4appraisers.com and click on the Synapse button. Folks, you can try it for free. Check it out. Again, it's spark4appraisers.com and the Synapse button. Finally, we are sponsored by OREP Insurance. OREP is the insurance of choice for me and many of my students. Why? Because it's the best. It's the one that shops around. You don't have just one choice when you go to OREP. You have many choices, and you don't have to do the legwork. They will get the information from you, and they will shop around to the greatest, best E&O companies out there, and they will tell you which options you have. Trust me, folks, you're going to save money. Trust me, folks, you're going to be with the best. It's OREP, OREP.org. Now, I know as of this recording, I think it will probably air in September. I'm recording it in September of 2022. And you're thinking, Dustin, what in the world are you talking about? It's September. I don't have to worry about taxes till next year. I don't have to worry about taxes till spring. Folks, the purpose of today's episode is to stress and implore you that you start planning ahead for your taxes now. I just a week ago had this sit down with my accountant. Now, this year it happened to be over the phone. When I say sit down, I guess I was walking around at an airport officially, but every year about this time, September, October-ish, I have a meeting with my CPA, the sole purpose of saying, okay, how have we done this year? What have we done that's unusual this year? What have you purchased this year? What's your revenue look like this year? And let's plan ahead because we still have a couple of months to turn the tables if we need to. Right? We still have a couple of months to say, you know what, you might want to do this, or you might want to do that. Or if things continue the way that you think they will, or the way that they have the first 3 quarters of 2022, you might want to do X, Y, or Z in the last quarter of 2022. Folks, I cannot tell you how much this has saved me over time. Well, Dustin, they charge money to sit down and consult with you and coach. Okay, and? My CPA is no different, folks. He has an hourly fee. Every month I send a check to him and I kiss it when I put it in the envelope. Well, not literally, and I actually don't use envelopes. I use all paper. Anyway, point is this, I am happy to pay it. Why? Why are you happy to pay money to somebody, folks? It's the same principle that I started with earlier today when I talked about hiring a house cleaner. Writing that check to the house cleaner is a privilege because I know that house cleaner just did something that I don't want to do or that I don't have knowledge of, or that I can spend my time more efficiently, more effectively somewhere else, right? It's this idea of opportunity cost. If you are doing something, that means there are multiple other things that you cannot do. I heard it recently explained with a deck of cards. If you've got 52 cards in your hand and they're all face up, but you have them stacked together, you can only see one card at a time. There are 51 cards behind that you cannot see. These are other opportunities that you can't see because you're only looking at the one opportunity. Meaning you can only focus on and do one thing at a time. So if I'm in a meeting with my CPA, that means I can't be out doing an inspection. That's an opportunity cost. Is it worth it? 100%. Right? Opportunity cost, another way to describe it is those of you who have to basically shut down your appraisal business when you go on a trip to Hawaii for a week. Right? And the cost of airfare and the hotel and the activities is nothing compared to the lost opportunities that you're going to give up your office. By the way, I can help you with that. I can help you set up your office so you can actually go on vacation, right? I literally am doing a podcast right now. That's my card in front of me, and I am also making money at the appraisal office at the same time. That's how it works when you set it up properly. But opportunity cost is this idea that you can be doing other things. What is the opportunity cost of TurboTax? What is the opportunity cost of not planning ahead for taxes? Now, Dustin, what are you talking about? What do you mean planning ahead for taxes? Well, let me give you a couple of examples. And again, I'm not a CPA, I'm not an accountant, but I will share with you a couple of things that have happened to me. And please get your own advice from your own CPA, your own accountant. That's the whole purpose of today's episode, right? It's not to listen to Dustin Harris as far as tax planning. It's do some tax planning with somebody that knows what the hell they're doing. That's the purpose of today's topic. But over the years, folks, I have had all kinds of interesting things happen to me. I was going to buy a used car one year, reached out to my accountant, and he said, there's actually a tax credit for this type of car right now if you buy new. And if you buy new, you will actually save money by buying new than you would buying something that has 30,000 miles and has a little wear and tear on it already. Folks, I would not have known that if I had not reached out to my accountant and said, hey, I'm thinking about buying a used car for my appraisal business. What do you think I should do? And we ended up buying new instead of used. That was number one. Number two, simply squirreling away enough money so that I am not surprised on April 15th. I cannot tell you how many years I got to April 15th and gulped at the amount that I owed Uncle Sam that I was not prepared for. And many years, folks, I did not pay my full amount. I had to take the penalty. I had to take the interest and pay it over time. And sometimes it was almost through the entire year before I finally got paid back what I should have paid up front in the first quarter. I don't do that anymore. Why? First of all, I put away enough of the percentage of everything that comes in that I've already got it in a dedicated account, but that's an episode for another time. But number two, I tax plan, and I pretty much know where I'm going to be for the year. And I've got a couple months to get things put together. Get prepared. Number three, and I alluded to this earlier, there are laws and rules and legal ways to save money on your taxes. Ways that you probably won't know of unless you do your personal research or, I don't know, meet with an accountant and have them educate you on this. One of the things I've taken advantage of over the years is conservation easements. I'm not going to go into any more detail than that. I can talk to you about it in private coaching if you want. But what a great opportunity to do two things, save on your taxes and save the environment at the same time, right? And I learned about that from my CPA. Well, actually, my wealth advisor put me onto it, but my CPA was very aware and has helped me to do that legally, ethically, morally, many years now. Folks, there are so many opportunities that we miss because we're cheap. I see this often, right? We'd rather clean the house ourselves because, my gosh, that house cleaner costs $150. We'd rather do our own taxes because I can't afford to hire an accountant. We'd rather do our own inspections because I don't want to hire another appraiser to go out and do the inspections. That means I don't get 100% of the profit. As you get ready to close out this year, I would implore you, if you don't already have one, find a good CPA, find a good accountant that knows what the hell they're doing. If you already have that person, please reach out to that person and schedule a time. Get it on your calendar. I want to sit down with you. I want to go through my numbers. I want to see where we're at, and I want your advice on what I can do between now and the end of the year to help me as we move forward. Folks, I talked earlier about personal coaching, private coaching. These are some of the things that we talk about. Numbers, finances, getting your office set up so that it is smoothly run so that you can go on vacation and not have to shut everything down. Please reach out to me. I'd love to help you. The coach at theappraisercoach.com. Thank you for joining me. We'll talk to you next time.
You've been listening to the Appraiser Coach podcast with Dustin Harris. If you like what you hear, please give us a 5-star rating and post a short review on iTunes. For more in-depth insider information on how you can make more money as a real estate appraiser, visit theappraisercoach.com and sign up for the All-Star team today. Thanks for joining us. And now, get out there and create some value.